Hey friends, welcome back to the Red Report, where we talk about dating, communication, friendships, and self-growth. Today, we're going to be going over 9 questions you should ask before dating or getting your emotions involved with someone. Now, I believe that this is going to be really important in this modern era of dating simply because we get our emotions really involved really early on and we miss the red flags that could be presenting right before you even get involved. I know these conversations can be life-changing with how you maintain relationships and how you start relationships. So with that, let's dive into the conversation and start talking about how we can start recognizing the red flags and build better connections starting today. Hey friends, welcome back to the Red Report. Today we're going to be covering 9 questions you should ask before you date someone or get your emotions involved. The reason why this is really important in this modern age of dating is because a lot of times we get involved with people before we actually know them and before we know if this is going to be a sustainable relationship. For those of you that are joining in on this conversation, I do believe this could be a life-changing practice with asking folks these questions. It's really easy for us to develop strong bonds with folks. I think it's important for you just to understand, who is it that you're actually dating? And does this person actually match us? Are we aligned with this person and are we genuinely compatible? We're going to walk through these 9 different questions, and I really think they're going to be life-changing and help you have better connections with your peers and in your dating life. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. First question is, who are you closest to right now? And what do those relationships mean to you? The reason why you want to ask this question is because it's going to help you better understand the dynamics that this person has, people in their network, right? And what their family and friendship dynamics look like as well. So when we think about this, you're going to be able to better understand, do they have any best friends? What is their relationship with their mother, their father, their siblings? Do they have certain events and obligations that they attend throughout the year? What does that look like in terms of them having a community? And the reason why that's really important is because it's going to allow you to know what network you're going to be absorbing. If someone has an extensive amount of friends and a big community and a big family and they have a busy life, it's just good for you to know what you're absorbing and what you're inheriting when you move forward with that person. You're also going to be able to understand how they maintain relationships over a long period of time. If someone has a lot of close relationships that they've had for a long period of time, 9 times out of 10, they're probably pretty savvy at maintaining relationships for a long period. So it's important for you to understand the dynamics that they have with their friends and family and their capacity to maintain long-standing relationships. Okay? And one last thing I'll add to this, you'll be able to understand the relationship that they have with themselves, if they're more focused on being independent or if they have a community-based mindset, right? And so that's going to be really important. That's going to show you if you'll be the main person that they'll be leaning on and interacting with, or if they're going to have a life outside of your relationship. So just something to keep in mind when you are having these conversations. Number 2, what are your love languages and how do you typically express it with your partner? The reason why you want to ask this question is because it's going to provide awareness to you if this person knows how to give and receive love, right? The reason why this is so important is because when someone has a love language, right? And for those of you that may not be aware, they are physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, and gifts. And with those, it's really important to just see how this person gives and receives love. If you're going to be moving forward with this person and they don't know how they receive love, that might be okay. Maybe there's some space to better understand. But if they can't really articulate how they give love to other folks, that just gives you awareness that's going to be something that you both may have to figure out together. However, if you meet someone who's a rock star and they completely understand how to give love and how they like to receive love, it helps you better understand how compatible you're going to be. If someone loves to give gifts as expressing their love to you, or they like to do acts of service, which is cooking you breakfast or giving you a warm blanket when you're on the couch or rubbing your back after a long day of work, those are good things to know. But you may not be compatible if your love language is words of affirmation, for example. They may keep pouring into you in ways that they feel are helping you feel loved. But if that's not how you receive love, you may appreciate those things. You may love a new pair of shoes. You may love a back rub at the end of the day, but that doesn't equate or equal love. It equates appreciation. It equates, oh, I love that this person does this for me, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to transition into them feeling a closer, romantic, deep connection with you. And so it's important just to understand that. And one other thing, and one other thing that I think is important when it comes to love languages is that we take the time to show up for the other person in this space. You can't say love languages don't matter. They really are some of the key ways that you can build a relationship with someone and create a deep connection. So having this as your second question, I believe it's really, really important. And it's an easy question to have. So you're breaking the ice, but you're not going in too deep. Question number 3. On your hard days, when you're anxious and stressed, what do you normally need to feel better? Or what do you need in that moment? And the reason why you want to ask this is because you want to be able to understand if this person is able to articulate their needs, yes, again, but also if they're the type of person that can self-regulate or if they need to co-regulate. The reason why this is important is because when you're in a relationship with someone and they're stressed or anxious, if they are going to say, I need space, I need to go for a walk, I don't want to be bothered, I don't want to be talked to, then that's how you know this person will most likely need to self-regulate. They process their emotions and feelings alone, and they prefer to do that alone, and they need space to do so. And that's completely fine. A lot of people need to self-regulate and to be in their own space to feel better about things. One thing that's important is that they communicate how much space they need, when they need to circle back, and what that's going to look like. If someone says, hey, I need to, step away from this conversation, I'm really stressed out, that's fine. When do you want to return to this conversation? And that's really important. You don't want to get anxious waiting for the pin to drop because you have no idea when the other person's coming back. So self-regulation is great. Just make sure that you understand what that's going to look like. For those that co-regulate, in this particular scenario, this is the type of person where they start to feel better about how they feel based on being around someone else. For example, I'm a mama's boy, and so if I'm really stressed out, sitting and talking to my mother is something that really regulates my emotions. I feel safe, I feel seen, I feel heard, and it really calms me down. I have a lot of siblings as well, and just having a sense of community when I'm really stressed out can really help me feel a little bit more at ease. It can distract me and just really regulate my emotions. If you're in a relationship with someone, being able to have someone there who can talk to you, walk you through how you feel, and just really give you that feeling of safety, that can really help. And a lot of folks co-regulate when it comes to how they feel. There's nothing wrong with it. It's good for someone to know so that they are just aware that when it comes to you being stressed and anxious, or if they're stressed and anxious, and this is their style of coping, that you know how you're going to have to show up for them, right? You're going to have to be there. They're probably going to want to talk to you. You may need to hold them or give them a cup of tea or rub their back and ask them questions and walk them through their stress and anxiety, right? And so this is a really good concept to be aware of just because it allows you to know how you're going to show up for that person in the moments of stress and anxiety and when they're really just feeling bogged down. All right. Question number 4. When it comes to constructive feedback, how does this person like to receive feedback and handle conflict? The reason why this is extraordinarily important is because you need to be able to understand the type of person that you're interacting with when it comes to sharing your truth and providing any form of feedback. For some folks, when you express how you feel and you express your needs, sometimes it can come off as criticism. For other folks, sometimes it can come off as an opportunity to show up for the other person. And so when you are asking this particular question, it's really important to understand, how is this person going to take you addressing your needs, you addressing, hey, this is something I don't like. Can we fix it? Hey, this is something that you may want to change, or hey, this is something that maybe we need to do differently, or hey, the pasta was a little salty last night. Let's switch it up a little bit. Whatever it looks like. It's important for you to be able to understand how you can navigate those type of conversations. They can be silly and everyday conversation of something as easy as a recipe to a meal, or it can be as big as, hey, we need to have a conversation about our finances. In these conversations, it's just really, really important that you understand, how am I going to do this with this person? Are they going to be receptive? Are they going to be able to be self-reflective and have accountability and to meet you in those moments? Or are they going to be the type of person where they cannot meet you and they don't take criticism well, and they are not as emotionally intelligent, and because of that, they are stuck in their feeling instead of how you feel or what you're trying to say? And one thing that I think is really important in this question as well, you're probably going to be able to gauge emotional intelligence as well. Their capacity to understand their feelings and move in a way that they can meet you in a conversation. If you're asking someone about how they like to receive feedback and they're just, hey, you can give it to me in a text, or hey, you can give it to me in a conversation or in writing or in the moment, that's cool for them to say. But I would then follow up with, can you give me examples of when you received feedback and how did you respond to it? Or can you give me an example of how you gave someone feedback and how they responded to that as well? That's going to be a follow-up question to that that's really going to help you frame what that's going to look like. Again, it's really, really important for you to understand what it looks like when you're asking someone how they give and receive feedback. It's extraordinarily important, okay? Another piece to this is conflict resolution. This is also going to help you be able to better understand if someone is able to resolve conflicts with you in a safe manner. Some folks may respond in an avoidant way and in a defensive way, where if you give them any feedback or criticism, they will deviate and shift to something and point the blame on you, shift the blame on you, not take any accountability, become very defensive, and there's no progress. For other folks, they're calm, they're level-headed, and they're receptive, and they can meet you and they have the capacity to move forward. If you don't have one of these conversations, you might be blindsided later on by noticing that you can't speak your truth, you can't give any feedback without this person becoming emotionally reactive, shutting down, or treating you like you're the problem. This is a big red flag and one that I would like to highlight in this list of questions. Next question. What is your attachment style and how do you see it showing up in your relationships? The reason why this is really important is because when it comes to your attachment style, it really is the fundamental principles on how you build connections with people. There's 4 different types of attachment styles. There is secure, which I think is the ideal. That's when you have certain needs and you don't feel afraid to express those needs, right? You feel like your needs are going to be met. You're not afraid to walk away from situations or relationships that no longer serve you. You know your worth. And it again is the ideal attachment style where you're very secure. You're able to be alone. You can most likely regulate your own emotions and you don't really need a lot of external validation. Number 2 is going to be anxious. Anxious attachment is usually a person whose core wound is abandonment. Now, again, with these attachment styles, it can be formed in your childhood, but they can fluctuate from person to person as well, depending on the consistency of a repeated emotional pattern to someone and circumstances. And so depending on the circumstance, they can shift. But when it comes to anxious attachment style, this is the type of person they don't want to be abandoned. They don't want to be left behind. And so there can be moments where they're triggered by their core wounds. and they're actively trying to ensure that this person will not leave them. That can show up in being anxious around text messages, or wondering why you're not home, or wanting to FaceTime you when you're out with the boys, or just really feeling they're having to be a little needy when it comes to their person. They can often be people pleasers as well, and putting their needs aside for the other person so that they can keep them. And so that's the anxious attachment style. The other one that they have is avoidant. And anxious and avoidant can often have a negative feedback loop where they attract each other, but they keep pulling out the negative aspects of the relationships, right? They keep going to this toxic place of one person pulling away, another person chasing over and over and over. For the avoidant person, their main fear is losing their independence as well as not being good enough. And so this may show up by them not being open to vulnerability, not being open to having a really deep connection with someone, maybe not being willing to change their lifestyle or habits for the other person because they want to be hyper independent. And it can really stifle their ability to have a long lasting relationship with someone because they're not open to actually being in a relationship. They like the idea of being in a relationship, but it often can look like more so of companionship, being beside someone than fully enmeshed, because vulnerability can look very scary when someone recognizes who you are fully. And that can be triggering for them as they don't really want to be seen in that way due to shame that they may have about themselves. So that's avoidant. And lastly is that fearful or disorganized attachment style. And this one is more so categorized by someone who, quote unquote, likes the bad boy or bad girl type. They're the person that may associate fear with love or danger with love. And so that comes with its own can of worms. But it's important for you to understand at least which one this person is in, and yourself as well. The reason why is because it's going to save you a lot of heartache. If the person is secure, 9 times out of 10, that's a good place to be, and you know how the relationship is going to go. If they are fearful or anxious or avoidant, doesn't mean it's a deal breaker, but at least allows you to make the decision and the choice. I'm going to have to show up this way for this person, and this is how they're going to move with me, right? It's something that you definitely should be aware of, and it's good for them to have awareness of this as well. When it comes to your attachment styles, you are able to shift from one to another, and it just takes progress, repetition, and doing the work. If someone's willing to do the work in this space, I think it's great. Continue to do the work, continue to make progress, but awareness is key. And if someone is not aware, or they don't think that there's any progress that needs to be made in this space, I think that's a key red flag for something to keep in mind. Next question. What's your personal growth journey look like, and what are you currently working on? The reason why this is really important is because it allows you to understand if this person has awareness on any of the gaps that they currently have, or what type of progress do they have right now? Is there a journey that they're on? Are they progressively working on bettering themselves? I would say you can give someone grace if they're between the ages of, mid 20s and below. You're still trying to find yourself. You may not even be on the journey of growth at this point. You're just living life. But if you're over the age of 25 and you're hitting your 30s and you're asking this person, what are they currently working on? And they aren't working on anything, and they don't have any self-reflection on, the gaps that they may have or areas in their lives where they could be better and are working on being better, that might be a red flag, simply because it is really, really crucial for us to be in a place of trying to be better. Yes, there's moments where we can, be at peace and ease, but having the awareness to know where your gaps are is huge. And if you're asking someone this, it's going to allow you to see if they even have the willingness to change or the willingness to be progressive in who they are. If someone does not know what their gaps are or where they can have growth in their life when it comes to their own individual journey, that could be a huge red flag, because it may indicate a lack of willingness to make the change and a huge gap in their awareness overall. And as you start to date them, you may find out what those gaps are and what that's going to look like for you to have to show up for that person. And usually, if someone does not know where their gaps are or where growth is needed, you may be the one having to have growth for yourself and for that other person. The expectation may be you're the person doing the growth and the work for two, instead of them showing up and meeting you and there being reciprocity in the relationship, two people moving forward. It's going to be one person rowing a boat for two. Two people need to be able to work on it together, and two people need to be able to be focused on having their own individual growth in order to move the relationship forward. That can be a huge red flag, and I would definitely highlight that one. Next question. What does disrespect look like and how do you handle it? The reason why this is really important to ask is because it will allow you to see where their boundaries are and what this has looked like in their previous relationships. Now, boundaries is something that we don't all have a good handle on at times, but it is important for us to continue to work at setting boundaries. And so when you ask them about what disrespect looks like, it'll allow you to know where they draw a line, right? And in that conversation, you can express where you draw a line. And so moving forward, whether you get into conflict, you'll be able to know when someone is intentionally going over a line and going over your boundaries, even though you've already had this conversation, right? And it'll also allow you to set an expectation on what you will tolerate and what you won't. During this time, you may see that this person may be extremely disrespectful in your eyes, but to them, they don't see it as disrespect. And that's something to keep in mind, or vice versa. You may be a type of person that may be blunt and bold, and to them, they may take that as disrespect. And that might be something for you to keep in mind. But overall, it's good for you to be able to understand where is the line when it comes to respect and how you can honor that with your person. And you'll be able to get some insights on how they interact with other people based on how their boundaries have been crossed in the past and how they continue to honor their boundaries. Boundaries is really important, and having respect in a relationship is extraordinarily important. If there's no respect as a foundational baseline, 9 times out of 10, your relationship may not last the test of time. And if it does, it might be extremely toxic. Next question. Are you looking for a deep connection? And if so, what does that look like? The reason why you want to ask this question is because it allows you to get a full picture on how they're going to show up in the relationship when it comes to intimacy and engaging with you. Some folks want to get into relationships, but they're not actively looking for a deep connection. Sometimes they're looking to fill in a void. And so when you bring this up, it allows you to see what the intentions are in the relationship and what does that look like in action. If they're looking for a deep relationship, does that mean you're going to be sitting on the couch watching Netflix and playing video games and that's about it? 30 days out of the month? And that's how you build deep connections? Or is building deep connections taking trips, having deep stimulating conversations, doing a puzzle together, going to dinner, having a walk and playing chess, doing art, playing tennis, what have you? You might have two different aspects of what deep connections look like. For one person, deep can look very surface. For another person, deep could look very adventurous. Not saying there's anything wrong, but it's important to know that you're both on the same page when it comes to what depth looks like and how you're going to show up in action with creating that depth with a partner. This is a huge one as well. You don't want to get your emotions involved with someone and then realize that your relationship is all about physical intimacy and not really anything else. You want to make sure that your relationships have emotional intimacy, intellectual intimacy, maybe even spiritual intimacy as well. These are all different categories and things to keep in mind, right? So this is a good question to ask, and you want to try to make sure that you're a good match with someone who meets your energy and has genuine curiosity in sharing deep moments with you, if that's what you're looking for. All right, and our last question. Why are you interested in being in a relationship right now? And the reason why you want to ask this question is because it's going to allow you to better understand the real intentions of the person. If you ask this question, you'll start to see if this person needs validation if they're looking to fill a void, or if they're looking for companionship or partnership. And the reason why I say all of those is because they can all look very different. If someone's looking for validation, they're looking to bring someone along to make them feel better about themselves. Maybe they're in an environment where they don't feel good enough. Maybe they're in an environment where they need someone else to help elevate their status or just make them feel included in their environment. So validation is one you want to be careful of. In addition to that, filling a void. That one's kind of hard to see. If this person is anxious and needy out the gate, they might be trying to fill in a void. For the other ones, in terms of companionship and partnership, I think that really goes down to the depth. Are they looking for someone to do things with? Or are they looking to have someone to build a connection, to have a curiosity about their lives, and to really share a long-lasting partnership? So when it comes to asking the question on why are you looking for a relationship, it's just really important to have awareness on what the relationship is going to look like. You don't want to get involved with someone who doesn't have curiosity or interest into who you are. They need to be a part of the journey. They need to be a partner. And so people are there for seasons. And if you can avoid a season that's just going to be a cold, dreary winter, avoid it if you can. This is a really great question to close it out because it allows you to know, where is this going to go? And what is this person's true intentions with me? And one last thing I will add is that by asking this question, you'll be able to understand if you're stepping into the same relationship. You don't want to be a relationship in for 10, 12, 15 years and realize, oh, we had two different relationships going on. I had one thought about what I was doing with you, and you had a completely different one. You were looking for a partner, and they were looking for a companion. And they required two different things. So it's just important to ask this question to save you heartache and to recognize the red flag. Hey friends, thanks for joining the Red Report today. We covered a lot of great content regarding 9 questions to ask before you build a bond with someone. For those of you that stayed and listened all the way through, I think it means that you really value connections, communication, and doing the work to be a better person. These questions are vital and will really help you create life-changing connections with any person that you're dating. With that being said, thank you all for joining the Red Report, and for more content like this, feel free to like, subscribe, and join the channel. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and talk to you soon. Bye.